Hey Scorpio, what's going on? We're here with the timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is the Empress. I'm seeing the Devil wanting to come out. If the Devil did happen to come out, which I feel like because it sort of peeked out and went back in, there could have been something going on where the Empress and the Devil could be a combination that has to do with Empress, what you naturally have to give from a place of that just coming out in flow with things. Having the Devil come out can be forcing that sometimes in a way where I have this to give, but I'm trying to get more out of that. It can be like that type of thing, or I'm trying to be creative here, but I'm trying to force it now. It can be something that you end up hitting some type of block, or trying to be overproductive with something, but then to the point where you kind of feel like you're using yourself. It can be that type of thing. There can also be themes with fear being involved as well, or feeling stuck more than anything. But because it didn't come out, I feel like you may have narrowly potentially avoided something, or you could have felt ooh, I'm dragging to the left and I need to bring it back more into the middle. Because it didn't come out, it feels like something that you could have felt was drifting, and you brought it back on track. Okay. It does look like you're going through something right now, Scorpio. Because of that, there can be this feeling of, I'm in the process of working through something or readjusting after this has happened, and I'm feeling less up for things than usual. You can feel more sensitive, or you can feel more numb right now. It can be that type of thing. You can be looking for something that's going to come in that can take your mind off of this, or take your feelings away from that. It can be that type of thing. There can even just be something that's going on. Having the Empress here, oh wow, the Devil may not be your energy. Well, the way that this can happen is that the Devil can be some type of influence that one is trying to get over you. It can be that type of thing, The Empress being what you naturally give. The Devil can be a work situation even that comes through and is we need you to do this, but to the point where you can feel like it's corrupt or it's taking advantage of you, something like that, especially taking advantage of what you give. Having the Empress come out shows you in a place where what you have to give is very valuable, and it's of very high quality because it is very much aligned, basically. So it can be a commodity essentially, but having Ten of Swords feels like in the height of your empowerment, you may have needed to say no more of that, or you may have needed to close something out, or you may have had to end a cycle, or brought something to its closing moment. It can be something like that had to happen, because maybe you even saw something that was going on, or were involved in something that was going on, or felt something starting to happen where you could have felt like you were maybe someone was trying to manipulate you, or manipulate you within the situation or what you were giving, or you could have felt like you were being taken advantage of. What you have to give, and it wouldn't have been right, because it can feel like I'm not properly being compensated for what I'm doing. It can be that type of thing, or if I put myself through this doesn't feel like a right fit, and I'm trying to force this to happen, or force myself to go along with this, and it can feel like something that's distasteful to you. So having Ten of Swords, you may have not wanted to do something, but you may have felt like you needed to do that. And Ten of Swords does speak about the culmination of something, where something that wasn't in alignment any longer needed to come to an end. So something cannot be taking up so much space for you anymore unnecessarily. That doesn't mean that you wanted to do it, but you could have felt like, I have to do this. I have to do this for myself. There can be fear that's involved in this. Or anxiety. No, this was the right thing to do is what I'm seeing. Empress, Ten of Swords, and Justice. Justice means that something was going on that, because we have Ten of Swords here, it means that something was going on that it was not supposed to continue like that. And justice is an energy coming through and putting an end to it. Because you're coming out as the Empress, this feels like something that was trying to encroach upon your energy. This doesn't feel like you doing something and needing to correct yourself as far as an action. It feels like in response to what was going on, you needed to do something, or you were involved in something that just feels like you were showing up how you were supposed to, but whatever was on the other end of what you were involved with, may not have been what was going on. And so justice is coming through and saying, no more of that. You're not going to be involved in it like this anymore. And this is definitely meant to be beneficial for you, for sure, for absolute sure. So again, even though you can look at it and be like, I wish it didn't have to be this way, or I wish that wasn't what was going on, it feels like there's a type of acceptance of this. Justice does show that things are working out in a more balanced way, like what was not happening the way that it should have been before. This is coming through and getting things back on track, essentially. This looks like it opens you up into a bit of an unknown here. It feels like it sort of opens the door to that of like what happens now, what happens next. I know what's happening right now, but like what does that mean then as far as where things are going to go? And there can be a part of you that doesn't like that. I don't like not knowing what's going to be happening. I don't like not being in control of things and how they're panning out. So because of that, it can just be something that feels actually pretty uncomfortable right now. Until you embrace this, and then it doesn't necessarily have to feel like that any longer. Yeah. It looks like it's not completely clear sort of where things are going to be going, because I'm seeing us end this part with the Three of Wands. But having Four of Cups here, you can look at something and know that I'm making progress, or things are moving at the same time. You can feel I don't know. I get a sense of resistance to something before, but this can be something that you're shaking out. Because I wonder too if you could be possibly exploring why you had been feeling the way that you'd been feeling, even about like your future and where things were going, or the progression of a situation. It feels like that's being understood now. Like having Moon and having Four of Cups can be, I'm feeling this way. I'm not totally understanding why I'm feeling this way or what's going on. And now I'm getting a deeper understanding. I'm developing a deeper understanding of what had been going on. I'm getting something else coming through though. Give me a second. I just want to tune into this. You could have maybe not been feeling hopeful about the direction of things. You could have maybe not been feeling hopeful about the future. You could have also been feeling tired too, or just this feeling of like, I'm not feeling super enthusiastic about, the direction of things, or I'm not understanding like why exactly I'm feeling like this. It can be that too. You could have also, in some ways, seen that things were moving and you were making progress, or at least something was going in a certain direction, but you could have at the same time not been feeling totally on board with that. It can be like that type of thing that was being looked at, or you could have felt uninspired, you could have not been feeling enthusiastic. It feels like you were experiencing a feeling but maybe not knowing why you were feeling that way or where it was coming from. And it seems very much like this is also something that's being explored too. And for some of you, this was a resistance that was being felt as well. Okay, I'm seeing Seven of Wands and I'm seeing the Lovers. Seven of Wands and the Lovers feels like needing to protect what you care about, regardless of what that is. Like, yes, the Lovers can be a relationship. Yeah, it can be like somebody that you care about. You need to protect your relationship. But this can also be like, I need to protect my relationship with myself. I need to protect my relationship with my abilities or my Venus energy, like what I have to give. I have to protect my relationship with the things that are valuable to me, or the things that are precious to me, the things I love, the things that I care about, leading a life that I love, being able to participate in things that I care about. You know, it can be like that type of thing too. I wonder as well if you had to like sort of fight for something here, or even put your foot down. This kind of feels like. Okay. I'm seeing Justice and I'm seeing Nine of Wands. What this can mean, having these two energies together, Justice will be you looking at this situation and knowing that there's a right way to go about it. But Nine of Wands can mean that's like the more difficult thing to do, or it can mean that again, you know the right way to move through something. That's not the part that's challenging. It's more so like it's exhausting to have to keep doing things the right way. You know, like I'm not seeing this be I don't know which way to go here. This is more so like I know the way to go, but that's the thing that's difficult, because I can see another way to do this, and that may be the easier thing to do, or it may be the thing that's less exhausting, or I'm getting tired of like fighting for this or showing up in this way. It can be that type of thing that's felt. Nine of Wands is a card where it's like the last steps before you end up seeing the result, and it's really a card of willpower as well. Like, this is the test. Are you going to fold here, or are you going to still go the right way with this that you know? And it can be about maintaining something. It can be about upholding something as well. When you know that there's a right way to do something, as far as like your value system, you look at something and say, I know that this is the right way for me to be showing up here, but then there are challenges posed to it. Do you give up? Do you fold? Do you say, oh no, this is too hard? You know, like, what do you do? Or do you still fight? Or do you still show up? Do you still try? Are you still willing to? You know, it's like that type of thing that feels like it's happening here with this. And that can be what's feeling most challenging to do. For those of you that just saw that, did you see the card sort of spin around? Death card is coming out, but it like reversed before it landed. So having death reversed can mean that there could have been potentially something that one thought had ended, but it can be very much being revived. That can be something that's going on here. That can be something that's happening, but it could have been a bit of a mystery. Four of Cups, though, feels like maybe not initially being into that idea of bringing something. Death, okay, so death when it's upright is something coming to an end. When death is reversed, it's sort of like a revival of something, like something being brought back to life. I do get the sense of this sort of going on behind the scenes, though, to have the moon above it. So it can be something that you thought was over that's coming back up, or that's coming back around. But because it's a death card, there could have been a belief or an understanding before, oh, I think that thing's over. Having it reversed is like, that's not actually the case. Like, that bridge may not actually be burned. It can be that type of thing. Like, oh, I actually traveled past there again yesterday and I saw that it wasn't completely knocked down. It can be that type of thing. Initially, you may have thought that, but then coming back around can be realizing that that's not actually the case, or at least it's an option when you may not have thought something was an option before. So that can be something that's happening. But having Four of Cups and having the Hermit, you may want to take a deeper look or a closer look into what you're feeling. Because Four of Cups can be a refusal, it can be a denial, it can be a not right now, it can be a just, I'm not so much into that, or I'm not feeling like I can entertain that. And the Hermit feels like looking more deeply into that. So maybe something that you thought was not a possibility or not an opportunity, or it was a definite no before, that there can be a part of you that's like, I still may feel like that. That can be shifting a little bit. Or you can be just looking into something and thinking, I thought that it was that way and it may not actually be that way. Or I thought it was a definite no and it may not actually be a definite no. And what do I think about that? Do I want it to be a definite no? If there's a possibility of it maybe being a yes or a potential, do I change my mind then? You know, it can be that. It just feels like a deeper dive into what you're feeling, and you sort of processing that and figuring it out. Like, is this actually how I'm feeling, or is there something deeper? I will say this though, having Death reversed and then having Four of Cups over here, there very much can be the opportunity to revive something, to bring it back to life. And Four of Cups can be you initially looking at something and feeling like that's not the way to go. But then Hermit can be like, is that right? Or do I need to look at this a bit more closely? Like, am I feeling like that just because of what I'm going through right now or what had happened? Or is that genuinely the answer that my intuition is giving me? It can be like that type of thing. Man, having Three of Wands and having the Tower here, you're going to have something having to do with your future popping up that you did not expect to be happening. This can be like, I had a plan for where things were going to go, and I saw that very clearly, but the Tower coming up can really shift that, can really change that. And this does feel... So we start with Venus and then we end with Mars. And Venus too, like in its essence, can be sort of a time when things are happening and it's more sweet and it's more enjoyable. But then to end with Mars can be a time of great destruction. Like Venus can be the creation of things. Mars coming through can be the pushing everything back into chaos again, when you had sort of like built things up a certain way and been interacting with it. Having the Tower come through can be, okay, that's potential. It's a potential. It's potentially being knocked down, or it's coming into question, where we can push it back into chaos to then create something else. And that is a possibility to do. But I will say this too, having us end with the Tower over here, I do see the Tower in this deck as being the emergence of your Mars energy coming up, where you do have the potential. There's a very destructive, chaotic energy that is activated right now within me. And I get to choose the way that I channel that. And for some of you, I'm seeing this is coming up because you may be triggered. There can be a competition that's happening. There can be just anything competitive. There can be something going on that's being worked out. For some of you, it can be an interpersonal thing. Your ego can be triggered. It can be like my fight or flight is activated right now in this moment. And with the Tower, you get to channel what you do with this. But having Three of Wands and having the Tower, it feels like it's indicating that if you don't channel this mindfully, it's something that can take things in, change the course of your future. So it feels important. It feels like this is not a regular Tower. And even though having a regular Tower can be a time when things sort of go all over the place and stuff changes or shifts or whatever, this feels like a Tower that would really impact your future depending on how you channel it. And I do feel like it's a bit of a warning having Five of Swords, because Tower and Five of Swords can be a moment where like somebody activates your ego and you react, and then it can ruin something for you. And when I say ruin, it's more so like, let's say that you have something more so set in stone, and then you have something happen and you feel very triggered about it and you react. It can then take that away. Like, I thought that part of my future was a sure thing, and now that this is coming up, it actually changes the trajectory of that for me. So it can be that moment that it comes up, and this can also be somebody goading you into reacting, and then it ends up backfiring. So it just feels like an important time where seven of Wands in this corner and Three of Wands over here feels like you need to protect your future. You need to protect the plans that you have. You need to protect something that feels like as long as you do protect it, nothing is going to happen to it. And it does feel very much, and these are things that you find very valuable. This feels like if, and this can even be like a split second, you know, where when something happens, this feels like things will be fine as long as you're keeping in mind what is most important to you and what matters to you. And if you like lose it and you end up folding in the direction of this energy, and I get the feeling that you could feel, if you react to this, it's just satisfying your ego in a moment, and it can be something that really, what you've worked for, it can be a time when it destabilizes that sort of thing. And it feels like you have the option. I get this as being one of those moments where your guides are saying that there can be maybe some destructive behavior pattern that can feel activated right now, and you get to choose whether you take like a more elevated route. That's why it feels like Justice and Nine of Wands is important. Maybe you have somebody around you that's doing something where you're like, they're not playing fair, and you can really go down to their level where they are, but then you're going to be the one that like gets in trouble for it, or you're going to be the one that has to have consequences, or like maybe they don't have something necessarily important in this setting, in this context going for them, and you actually do. And so they don't care, like they're like doing whatever within their life, but like you have more at stake maybe within this. That's really what this is feeling like. And so Justice and Nine of Wands, you can know there's a right way for me to respond to this, and that's going to be the more difficult thing for me to do here, but it's very important that I do this. And that's what feels, and it feels like analyzing, why may I not want to do that? Why is there a part of me that knows this is the right way to handle this? Why is there another part of me that's almost like, I don't want to handle it the right way, I want to do it a different way, but then it's going to cost you? And it feels like your guide's saying this is something that really can jeopardize something that you don't want it to jeopardize, and it's all in your hands essentially. So I feel like a lot is weighing on this, a lot is riding on this, and I do feel like this is a situation that you could have thought it was over, and then you're going to find out that something may not be over. And I don't know if it's like a situation in general, or this is something going on with you where you were like, I thought that I stopped that behavior, or that I wasn't tempted to act like that anymore. And in this moment, I feel very tempted to show up and act like that. It feels like one of those times. And this can be a conflict that you have with someone. It feels like something like that. And again, there can be this part of you that's like, if I don't play by the rules here, I may be able to in an instant like get back at this person or like get ahead in this situation, but then it's gonna come back. Like there will be ramifications for this. I'm seeing your guys be like, don't do it. This feels very much again like a warning. You have a lot going for you right now that's really important. It feels like you need to protect that, the stuff that you have going on. Empress and Seven of Wands is you're being encouraged to do what you know is right here, to honor yourself through this and to show up, to bring something to an end so this doesn't have a chance to jeopardize things for you, and to make the right decision. I do feel like for most of you, this has to do with an interpersonal situation, and you're being guided to do the right thing here, but you have the option not to do the right thing. And when I say the right thing, it's not that you don't know what it is. You do know what the right thing is to do here, but there's another option for you not to do things in that way. And it's not even maybe, it's going to be more difficult to do the right thing than it is to do the wrong thing here. And there can be a part of you that's like, I feel like I'm really being tested going through this. And your guides are saying, do not fold, do not cave. You need to do this the right way, the way that you know how to do it. And it feels very much like sitting with this energy rather than you doing something reactive that ends up ruining something very important for you that you have going on. This is one of those situations where it's like, all you have to do is just what you know is the right thing to do within this situation, even though there's a part of you that can feel like, what if I'm getting bested by this person, you know? It can be very much that type of thing, or like, they're not playing by the rules, why do I have to? It's gonna be one of those times when like that type of thing is challenged for you. And this does feel like a time where you are either this will be a time where you evolve, and you'll see that the universe is supporting you doing things in a way that you know is the right way to do things, or it's going to take you backwards, and it will be a tower moment at that point. But it doesn't have to be a tower moment in a bad way. This can be a moment that really like shapes you in a way that you feel proud of, or it can be a moment where you do something that is regressive and it really takes you backwards. And I do feel like something very big is at stake here. That's the way that this looks to me. It looks like this isn't just something where you get to do something sly and it's like a little repercussion or something like that, or like nobody sees and nothing happens. This feels like a time that it can be a very destructive force in your life. Like this feels like a time when you could think nobody's watching and like the camera sees, you know? It feels like one of those types of situations, or like somebody's like recording it. It's like that type of thing where there's going to be accountability, and you want to make sure that you are doing what you know you're supposed to do here. Because it feels like one of those times when whoever is not doing things the way that they're supposed to be done it's going to jeopardize something, and you don't want to get caught in that situation unnecessarily. And this is your guide saying to do it the right way, very much. Like this feels like a very stern situation that's being brought up here, like for you, just to make sure that you know the gravity of this before you go and do something, very much. Because this can be a time when you look at something and you're like, wow, I'm so glad that I just like took a breath, or that I went and sat with this rather than reacted. Or it can be a time that ends up being like you can learn a lot, but it can be something that you could have avoided and then be like, why did I do that? It was just my ego in that moment. I do feel like this is something that's going to happen with you and another person, like that type of setting, and it's going to feel very triggering. So just be prepared for it. some of you, this already happened, and this is just the guidance for you not to do something that you'll end up regretting. For others of you, this can be more of a warning of this is going to be happening, so mind yourself as you move through it. It's really like, if there's ever a time for you to do things the right way, it's now. It's in this situation, because it feels like a lot is riding on this. And it feels too like this is stuff that you've really worked for. Like, this is your future that you've worked for by showing up in the right way. And this is not something that you want to jeopardize, even though you're going through something that feels very challenging. And I do feel like what happens, this is where psychologically this can mess with you. Based off of what happens, it feels like it's something that can make you forget how important what you've worked for is, or how important your future is for you, or how important the progress is that you've made. So let's say that you've been working so hard, and there's something that you're going to be doing next week that you have been working so hard for, and that time is about to come. But based off of something that happens, you can feel like, I don't even care about next week anymore. And then it can do that thing where it shifts you into the black and white, where you're like, that's another time completely. Let me just do what I want to do now, forgetting how important that is to me. I do something, it ends up destabilizing that, and then I realize after the fact what I lost. It feels like one of those times, and you don't have to go through that at all here. It's something that you can avoid. And it feels too like, don't let something take you out of your character. Like, you don't have to do that here. And it feels like something that they're going to be these forces that you're working with, and it feels like very extreme energies that you're going to be working with within you. But very much your guides being like, we are with you, do this the right way, this is the guidance, do not do something that you're gonna regret here. You can feel like this brings up, you know how we all have energy that can be hard to control? This feels like a very powerful aspect of your energy comes up, and you really have to wrangle it in. This can be the part of you that is most difficult to control, like that part of you. And it can be very, very destructive, and you having to wrangle it in at a time when you may feel less than inspired to do exactly that. And this reading feels like it's to give you perspective of really what's at stake here. I do feel too like something that you may think is over is going to, something that you may think is over, or a bridge that's burned, something like that, it will come back to life. Having the moon and having death feels like I was told that was canceled, or I was told that wasn't gonna happen, and then what happens is that ends up not actually being the case. Like, oh, that's not available, or like you didn't get the role or whatever, and then that ends up not being the case. It's gonna be that type of thing that like you're not shown what's going on, and then it's gonna reverse, and you'll be like, wow, I'm so glad I didn't do that. It will be that I'm so glad I didn't react to that in a way that's not aligned, in a way that would not be aligned with my character, or not aligned with my values, that type of thing. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. Okay, I'm looking at Venus, I'm looking at Libra, I'm looking at the moon, I'm seeing the Tower, I'm seeing Virgo, I'm seeing Scorpio, I'm seeing Gemini. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.